killer. You won't believe it, darling. There's long-time listeners and first-time callers. They love Maria. That's what they keep saying. And we're gonna get loud, but we're gonna get close. She's here and she's going strong. Maria Sanchez. This is a show, darling. She'll give you something to talk about. She's gonna help you figure it out. She'll give you something to talk about. Call in the show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maria's talking, so call Maria. Her show is killer. You won't believe it, darling. There's long-time listeners and first-time callers.
Welcome back to the Maria Sanchez Show. We are live. It's Wednesday, November 17th. We're live Monday through Friday from 4 o'clock on. How long we go depends on the guests, the topics, and where we are. Tomorrow we won't be live until 5:30 because we're going to be at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. We are simulcasting President George W. Bush's talk. It's sold out, but we are the designated broadcast outlet for the Reagan Library, and so we're privileged to be able to be there. So we're going to do a pre-show at 5:30, and then at 6 o'clock when President Bush enters with Mrs. Nancy Reagan, that's when our simulcast will start. So you just log on to kadytv.com and click, and there you go. So we have Christy Weir in studio with us. Christy's Ventura City Council member and past mayor.
Right.
And welcome to the program, and it's great to meet you. We haven't met one another, and but we have known of each other professionally. So welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you've been doing for the city. And this is a reminder too, excuse me, other cities, if you have issues that we might not know about, please feel free to reach out to us. We're user-friendly. We're about the county, by the county, for the county.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to have you come in and talk with us about the Ventura Serra Cross.
Great.
And why don't you give our viewers a background about what, because I know that you had to take it, if you will, off the hands.
We had a little legal situation.
And that was in 2003?
2003, there was a threatened lawsuit, church and state issue. A group of people wanted to sue the city to get rid of the cross basically because it was on city property. And they felt that it wasn't appropriate to have a religious symbol on city property. So having looked into the situation, similar situation in San Francisco and San Diego, that both had crosses on public land that were enmeshed in huge lawsuits, expensive $1 million lawsuits, and years and years and years of battling, I decided it was probably the wisest move to try and buy that piece of property from the city, and the city decided to auction it off. And the Grant Park itself is 108 acres. The little piece up there with the cross on it is 1 acre.
Now what do you call that? Where it starts with an E. I want to say excise, but in other words, they cut out the 1 acre around the cross.
Yes, and just sold that.
Right. So
the rest of the 108 acres is still Grant Park, still owned by the city, still a public park. The little 1 acre piece around the cross is the part that most people think of Grant Park, which is the grassy spot with the parking lot. And what we did was raise very quickly, actually. It was about 5 or 6 weeks of time that we had to get it together. And the public responded so amazingly. It was not hard to get donations because people wanted to save the cross. So
now,
we got $104,000.
I understand that it was a competitive bid, though, right?
Yes.
So you had to.
It was a closed, sealed bid. So we were worried that somebody who wanted to take down the cross was going to raise money and bid.
Right.
To get it.
Right.
And so we just went crazy raising as much money as we possibly could so that we would be the highest bidder.
Not knowing,
having any clue what anybody else was going to raise.
Wow.
Because it was sealed.
Right.
And the council on that Monday night, we raised $104,000, and we thought, okay, this better be enough because it's all we can do in that amount of time. And the city council on that night opened all of the envelopes with the bids in them and read them one by one out loud, there were, I think, 3 or 4 bids, and some of them were really low. And ours was the highest, and we were thrilled because ours was the one that represented hundreds and hundreds of people donating in the city. Anywhere from, we got people sending $5, and they'd send me a story. It was so great. They'd write on their card, I got engaged at the cross, here's my $5, or, all the way from that up to, we had several donations of $20,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, people who really, those were more corporate donations. So it succeeded.
Now you, though, had to create an organization that could raise the money that could buy.
Right.
So what was that about?
Well, we are a nonprofit. It's called the Serra Cross Conservancy. And we're an official 501c3, and it's a nonprofit organization. So when people donate, it's tax deductible. But we're a legal, entity, and we now own. We have a board of directors, and we own that little acre, and it still is a public park. It has to be open to the public all the time, which is a little bit of a challenge because having a private party own a public park. Like, for instance, last weekend we had a lot of graffiti taggers who came up, and they, we've been actually very fortunate to have a lack of tagging. It used to be tagged a lot, I'll put it that way. And since we've made improvements up there, since the ramparts have been built, those big stone ramparts, and since we've done a lot of landscaping, and it's gotten better. But last weekend we had a major tagging, and so we had to get the crew up there to clean it all off. And so upkeep on a public park, the insurance, the watering, the mowing, the liability is a bit of a challenge. But we keep getting donations, and there's a lot of weddings up there. People still, thank goodness, think of it as a great spot to get engaged, to get married. We have memorial services up there. People scatter the ashes of their loved ones, and it's just a great place in people's hearts for their sort of milestones in life.
Now, when somebody does that, do they take out a permit and then that generates money, or they pay a fee to you, or is it a donation?
It's a donation. It's a donation. They don't have to get any sort of permits. It doesn't have anything to do with the city anymore. So what they do is, we have a website. It's www.serracrosspark.com. Serra, it's Serra for
not as
father,
in
for Father Serra,
right. And how do you make a budget, not knowing? In other words, you don't know what you're going to get in terms of donations. You do have a basic idea of what maintenance is, but if you get an extraordinary amount of tagging, for example, then you have more manpower needs. So how do you figure that out?
It's by the seat of our pants, really. We have a budget, but it's very small. It costs approximately $12,000 to $15,000 a year, bare bones, to keep it up. That is the insurance, the water, the electricity, the mowing of the lawns, the bare bones. If we want to do anything extra, like we've just done some really cool landscaping up there with some lavender plants, and then of course the stone ramparts, which fortunately the stones were donated, the labor was donated.
Wow.
The trucking was not donated, so we had to raise money. Anytime we want to do something special, above and beyond, make improvements, then we have to raise, do fundraising and raise the money to do it.
So you'll say, this is our next project and
Yes.
we need X amount of money to make this happen, so please dig deep.
Yep.
Now, I'm curious, if it's surrounded by 107 acres that's city-owned, could you just take less than 1% of the city's budget to mow, and then, can you share that?
No,
to make it
because
more
the
efficient?
city legally, when the lawsuit, it didn't end up being a lawsuit, but the threatened lawsuit in 2003, part of the deal when we bought that piece from the city, we have a deed for it, and there's restrictions on that deed, and the restrictions are that it has to stay separate from the city. In other words, we cannot use
blending.
No city money, no city services.
But I thought maybe you could say, well, if it costs you X amount and we're taking up 1%, right, 1% of that cost for you to mow those 108 acres, wouldn't that be less expensive than you having to hire your own groundskeepers to do that.
Yeah.
Unless they consider that
They do.
commingling.
They do. No crossover whatsoever, no using of city staff or city time or city anything. Plus they don't, the rest of the park doesn't get mowed.
Oh,
The rest of
okay.
the park is wild. It's
Okay.
all natural, everything. Ours little section is the only part that really has the upkeep like that. So.
And what
it's
about
very
lighting at night? And
well, that's been an issue. We put in what's called uplighting, which is lights in the ground that shine up on the cross, because people are very very adamant about wanting the cross lit at night so they can see it from the road. I mean, a lot of people tell stories about how they feel like when they're driving home on the freeway and they see the cross lit up at night, they know they're home. It's very emotional for people. And so we put in these uplights, and over the years we've had to replace them 3 times because of vandalism. They're very tempting for people to break out. So after the 3rd time, right now there's no lighting on it, because the last time that it got broken, we just said, okay, we're going to raise some money and get some really, really indestructible lights, hopefully,
and maybe
and light it up again.
surveillance?
Yes, security camera and actual those kind of motion
Right.
sensor lights.
Mhm.
That's on our budget, about $5,000. So we are hoping to raise that money too, because everything, when you're dealing with a public park, it has to be super durable. Whatever we get up there has to be durable. This is a not funny story.
We're going to hold that thought because we're
Okay.
going to take a break.
Okay.
When we come back, we're visiting with Christy Weir, Ventura City Council, and we're also going to, when we come back, we're going to talk about the history of the cross, because we didn't really get into that. We mentioned Father Sarah, but that was it. You're watching the Maria Sanchez Show right here on KADYTV.com. We'll be right back.
Maria's talking, so call Maria, her show is killer. You won't believe it, darling, there's long-time listeners and first-time callers. They love Maria, that's what they keep saying, and we're gonna get loud, but we're gonna get close. She's here and she's going strong. Maria Sanchez, this is a show, darling. She'll give you something to talk about.
I have hold off here.
I always forget the date. It was my first one, 1782.
Maria.
Welcome back to the Maria Sanchez Show right here at KADYTV.com. We're live. Hello, you caught us. We were sharing notes. It's Wednesday, November 17th. A reminder that we will be simulcasting President Bush's speech tomorrow. We're doing our pre-show at 5:30, and then he's speaking at 6 o'clock. So it's sold out, but you got front row seats wherever your computer is. And we have in studio with us Christy Weir. She is on the Ventura City Council. Christy, you also in 2003 formed the group that was responsible for rescuing the Father Sarah Cross.
Right.
And again, the name of that group is?
Sarah, Serra, Cross Conservancy.
Okay. And then before we get into, because right before the break you were talking about doing
A story.
things. Yeah. Why don't you go to that, and then we'll
Okay,
go
I'll
to...
just tell a quick
yeah.
story about the challenges of owning a park. We raised the money to put in some benches, and there's donor opportunities where people can put their name on a bench in memory of a loved one. And so we put these 3 really sturdy big benches up there, and we bolted them to the ground. And well, lo and behold, within a couple months, one bench disappears. That somebody had come, like undid the bolts and stole the bench. They're heavy. So we have challenges like that. So now we put the benches back in, really sunk into the ground like that much in cement. So we're hoping, we're just learning along the way. How
Creative and
people can
strong.
be when they want to steal something. So yeah, we're learning, and it's getting better and better.
And if you didn't see our other segment, the prior one, that Christy was saying that last night you had tagging
Over the weekend.
over
yeah.
the weekend. So is that gang related and spray painting, or is it just
We assume it's
desecration?
gang related. It's usually gang related. Yeah.
And so then we were talking about uplighting that would be more permanent and less
Yes.
destructible, and as well as surveillance cameras.
Yes.
So that's on your hit list.
It's on our list of our wish list, yes.
Okay. Yes, the wish list. And so we're coming to the close of the year, and now does that mean that you know what you've done and then what you'd like to do, and that do you
Yes.
make a plea? Because if you do, here
We're
would be your
pleading
time.
right now, pleading, we're pleading. We have,
Here is our plea.
last January we had a stone symposium. We had workers from all over the world, stone workers from all over the world, led by a Japanese group. There was several Japanese stonemasons that have, in Japan, they've gone back 7 generations
Wow.
of stonework, and they know this technique of gravity stone building, where they put stones on top of each other, carved perfectly without any mortar, and they'll last thousands of years. So they came and they built these giant ramparts at the cross.
And nobody can push them
Nobody
over?
can push them over. They're huge. I mean, the stones are this big
Oh my
each.
gosh.
So you have tons and tons of gravity holding them down, and there is a lot of
Does that,
that's where they are.
okay.
That's where they. Yes. Now, if you go up there, instead of those blue lines, you will see actually huge stones,
Okay.
and it's beautiful. But they we're going to do another project this year. They loved coming to Ventura in January. A lot of them are from places that it's cold, and they were thrilled that they could work here in the sun. They loved the view, and the people in the town treated them wonderfully. They
Really?
fed them.
Oh,
Anacapa
sweet.
Brewery downtown created
Uh-huh.
a whole beer for them called
Oh.
Rock Knockers Ale. And so they were fed and housed, and they loved it, and they built these huge ramparts. And we got the free stone from a quarry in Ojai. And so this year we have another plan to bring stone workers back from all over the world, have another symposium, and build a big stone wall along the entryway coming in on the road. And so we are raising money now to do lots of things. One is wrought iron railing, which would help up there because the railing we have is pretty basic. And then to help finance this new stonework project. And we also have plans, as you said, for security cameras and lighting up the cross again. So there's, our wish list is huge, and we'll do it. We've always been able to find the funding for what we wanted to do.
So, and how do you, other than our program, which we're new, and so when I heard about it, I was like, well, sure, this is a need in the county, and actually a relic of the counties.
Yeah.
How do you help get the word out?
We have quite a network of people that have donated in the past, and we let them know. Plus, we're having a fundraising party this Saturday, and people can get a hold of me, or they can go to our website, sarahcrosspark.com, and get information there on how to donate. Plus, there are some very generous people in the city, and when you let them know that you need something, like when the stone workers were coming up last year, it was pretty short notice, honestly, but we had dozens of people donating food, hotel rooms,
Wow.
money for the trucking, equipment. People in the city really give. They really do.
But this isn't, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see this as a city of Ventura issue. I know it's within the confines of the city of Ventura, but isn't it a county issue and a historical issue?
It is. Yes.
It would be a good opportunity for you to talk about the cross.
Yeah.
How is it that the cross became?
Actually, it's called the Serra Cross because Father Serra put up the first cross. He founded... Our San Buenaventura mission was the last mission that Father Serra founded. It was his 9th mission and his last one, and after he founded our mission, he died. So when he founded our mission here in Ventura, he put a big cross, and this was 1782. And so that was over 125 years ago. He put 225 years ago. Old, very old. I always think in terms of, when I'm teaching this to kids, I tell them, on the East Coast when all of the, on the East Coast when all of the country was being founded in 1776, well, that's the exact time that Father Serra was doing the missions here in California. So in 1782, Father Serra put a big wooden cross on the beach. And that was to symbolize that he was going to build a mission here. So that was his first cross. And then as the mission was being built, a little bit after that, they put the cross up on the hill above the mission where it is today. And there wasn't anything here other than Chumash villages. And as the Spanish people were coming through and settling, they needed to know where the missions were. So they would put some sort of symbol high up so you could see you were walking. Obviously, they were either walking or riding horses or on a ship. So they put this big cross up on the hill, and then people on the ships, as they were sailing by, could see where the mission was. If they were walking up the coast or riding, they could see where the mission was. So it was a landmark, and then people could know where to come. And over the years, there's been 3 or 4 actual crosses, because in 225 years they've gotten weathered or blew down or whatever. So the one that is there now was put up in 1941. So that cross itself is about 70 years old. And it's doing well. It's doing well for being 70 years old. It's very sturdy and thick, and it's...
So you don't have to treat it, or...
We do not treat it. It's
wood?
It's good wood. It's good, solid, thick wood, and it's got a good base on it. And as long as people don't mess with it, we do have graffiti once in a while, which is a bummer. Yeah. But it's generally pretty respected.
Now, you've mentioned the website, sarahcrosspark.com, and you mentioned that there's a fundraiser this Saturday. Is the public invited?
Yes, they would need to get a hold of me ahead of time I'm not going to give out the information on the air about where it is and stuff, but it's at a private home.
Okay,
all right. Home.
And do you have to pay to get in, or
Yes, it's donation.
Okay.
Yes, well, yes, it's donation.
Okay, right. And is there a suggested donation?
It's only $25.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to give your contact information, which we've been flashing.
Well, on the website, on our website is my phone number.
Okay.
So they can get it from there and contact me that way, or our email address.
Okay. And anything else, Christy?
Just the fact that it is really one of those places that remains in the hearts of people. And it's not just because it's a historical place over 225 years, but because it's sort of history in people's lives. When you got married there, or when you got engaged there, or when you had your first date there, whatever it is, it's very special. So our goal is to make it the most beautiful park in the county.
That's a pretty big goal.
It's the most beautiful view in the county right now. We have a lot. We don't have to worry about the view. It's there. It's gorgeous. But we want to build on that and make it as beautiful as it possibly can be with local materials. In other words, we want to use local stone and local wrought iron workers and local sign makers, and just have it a really, really special local place.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
All about local broadcasting.
Yeah.
Christy Weir, our guest, again, the Sarah Cross Park. .com, because we've been putting up your name and phone number. And again, you can call about the fundraiser that's this Saturday, and it is the Father Sarah Cross in Grant Park. When we come back, a few items about what's going on the rest of this week and what we've been up to, and then we will say adieu. So we'll be back in a few moments. So thank you for watching the Maria Sanchez Show.
Maria's talking, so call Maria, her show is killer. You won't believe it, darling, there's long-time listeners and first-time callers. They love Maria, that's why they keep saying, and we're gonna get loud, but we're gonna get close. She's here and she's going strong. Maria Sanchez, this is a show, darling. She'll give you something to talk about.
Welcome back to the Maria Sanchez Show. It's Wednesday, November 17th. I just wanted to remind you of a few things. Tomorrow we won't be live at 4 o'clock. We're going to be live at 5:30 at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library for President George W. Bush's visit to Ventura County to promote his book, Decision Points. We are the broadcast out entity for the Reagan Library. And if there was a Democrat thing here in the county, we would try to do that too. So don't think that we're partisan in that regard. But it is a jewel. There's not very many states, let alone counties, that have a presidential library in their domain. So we're very privileged and pleased to be able to do that. So it is sold out, but you don't have to worry. All you have to do is log on to kadytv.com and the player will pop up and you just click and you'll be able to watch. We're told that he's being helicoptered in at 5:55 and out at 7:05. So just decision points, that's tomorrow. Then Friday, we're going to be at the Resource Conservation Districts Convention, which is a statewide event, and it's being held here in Ventura County. So tomorrow is near the culmination. There have been events going on today, tomorrow, and Friday, and we're going to be broadcasting from there from about noon to 2:30. And Harold Edwards, who's the CEO of the Limonera Company, he's the keynote speaker. We'll be covering his address. And also, as it turns out, that the RCD, or the Resource Conservation District, as they're known, started an award for the first time, and Limonera is the one that won it. And that had nothing to do with, it was already, he was going to be the keynote speaker, and then as, I guess, serendipity happened, the company won. And then tonight, just wanted to remind you that the annual, and it's Leonid meteor shower, is happening tonight. They're saying that there's going to be about 15 to 20 meteors coming per minute. So the Discovery Magazine says 20 to 30 an hour. No telescope needed. The best viewing is after midnight, away from the light pollution. Around 3 o'clock, they say, is going to be ideal. But the gibbous moon is going to be bright this year, so as it goes down and before the sun goes up, they say that's when it's going to be the most glorious. This happens every year in November, and it's happening tonight, so we just wanted to give you the heads up about that. If there's anything that you want us to know that's going on in the county, because we're about the county, by the county, and for the county, please contact us via the website. The emails go to info@kadytv.com, or my email, maria@kadytv.com, and we're happy to promote, especially if you're a 501c3, as we did today with Christy Weir. Thank you so much for watching the Maria Sanchez Show. Hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 5:30 at the Reagan Library.